back to Restoration Design. My name is Adam Sharp, and today we're going to be working on our BMW 02 series. This one is 1972 and it's in pretty rough condition. Today we're going to be installing new towers and the cross member for the differential support. First and foremost, we need to take some measurements before we remove any parts. We need the measurements in order to be able to place the rear transaxle support mount back in the proper position. Our BMW 02 is pretty beat up, so we're going by the measurements on the manufacturer specs. As you can see here, we have 667.3 millimeters from the center point of the differential mount support to the center point of the jack support. And you do that for both sides. There's a slightly different measurement from side to side. Also, we need the measurement that goes from the center of the tower to the center of the opposite tower. When you're doing your tear out, make sure you check to see that you have all of the components that are necessary for your rebuild. Some of the new parts don't come with all of the components, such as these seat mounts. The removal of the old towers can be kind of difficult. You may find yourself removing parts of the inner panels in order to be able to get the towers out properly. This piece right here I've made so that I can reinstall it into this section right here that I had cut out in order to be able to remove the old tower. You can also see along here there's some extensive cutting damage in order to get the welds off of the rear face from the towers. We took advantage of the towers being out of the way in order to complete some repair work that was necessary around the wheel areas. All this in here was rotted through and we replaced it all. We've prepped our wheel wells and we've started getting them fitted for installation. One of the things that we have done is we've removed part of the part that comes on it. This is necessary to structure the inner rocker. It's very simple to remove this. All you have to do is drill out the spot welds. It's a separate part from the tower. There's a lot of work that needs to be completed in order to get to your welding point. I've taken care of all the rust and prepped the entire area, both sides, for the new towers to be installed. Make sure you check all your measurements to make sure that your suspension will end up back in its proper position. 3 things to remember when completing your welding. Be sure to use some weld-through primer, lots of clamps, and keep the area cool, so you might want to use some compressed air to help you with that. Before we begin welding, we're going to double check to make sure that our differential support channel is going to fit properly and our measurements work out well. So you want to take your differential support channel, tongue twister, and position it in the location that it's going to be in and clamp it securely with some vice clamps so you can check your measurements. So when checking your measurements for your differential support mounts, you want to measure from the center of the hole on the passenger side to the center of the jack support mount. At this point, I'd like to also mention that you need to make sure you keep your differential mounts perpendicular to the floor of the car in order for your suspension and everything to mount up properly. We're ready to begin our welding, and as usual, we want to make sure that we keep our rosette welds apart so we don't get the steel hot. Compressed air will also help you assist in keeping the welding area cool. Due to the extent of this project, you may have to stop periodically and double check to make sure that all your components are still in the proper positioning. Check your measurements. Those measurements are going to be very important to you when you go to assemble all of your suspension and your engine components. Alright. I can't stress it enough, gentlemen, to make sure that your differential support channel and the differential mounts are perpendicular to the car and in the right positioning for when you mount up your differential. As you can see, we've completed our installation of our towers and our differential support channel. We're now ready to continue on with the project that we started with our trunk floor a few weeks ago. Thanks again for joining us here at Restoration Design. We hope you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us for the rest of our projects in restoring our BMW 02 series. Just a reminder, gentlemen, this is just a suggested method in order to complete your project.